The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
And hello again, wrestling fans. Welcome to another edition of This Week in Wrestling History, or This Week in History, as we just basically put up there. I want to thank you for joining us, whether it's on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from. Also watching us in video form on Facebook or YouTube. We're always available anywhere you want to look for us. Check us out online at scumbagswrestling.ca and be a part of the conversation. Send us a message. Tell us what you like, what you want to see in the future. We are going to be revamping the format starting next week. Deeper dives into some conversations and events and people's careers, and just a different way of looking at the history since we've done a whole year of it in the format that we're going to present today. So I want to thank Coolbet, our great sponsor for that, all our shows. We're looking forward to our our predictions league for day one coming up on January 1st. So get your picks in for there, and we're going after the title. Yeah, there's not much else going on. Oh, just a reminder, because it is Christmas season, stop over at our store at prowrestlingtees.com/scumbagswrestling for t-shirts for you to wear and support Steven's wrestling journey and the research for Kerry malformation through Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. So once again, prowrestlingtees.com/scumbagswrestling. All proceeds from the sales are going to go to Steven's wrestling journey. So that's all out of the way. And now we can go over to Niagara Falls to see Jonesy, who put together the list. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good.
It's a very mild week here in London. I'm imagining the same over in Niagara.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Windy, of course, across Ontario. A few signs got blown down. Jimmy Buffett sign got blown down, and a whole whackload of fencing around construction sites and that were obliterated.
Yeah, that happened around here too. I have a tree down, and the sign to my complex has been snapped right off. Just crazy wind in December. Go figure.
But hey, it's given a lot of people work.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe not the best type of work, but it is getting work. And as I said earlier, we have reached our round the calendar for the year with this week's episode and our format. So we're going to be changing it up. But let's get to this week's list.
Yes, and for those listening, lots of the events and birthdays, etc., some of them have been omitted from this list because normally we go from anywhere to 8 to 11 pages. This was 17 pages, so limited down to 10 pages. So there'll be a few things that you might go, hey, why isn't it in there? Like some slammies, but it's only slammies. So,
Good.
We're going to start with December 10th. 49 years ago in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, Ric Flair makes his professional wrestling debut against George Gadaski. The match would end with a 10-minute time limit draw. Pretty good for your first match, getting the time limit draw.
Yeah, you went Broadway, a 10-minute Broadway. And then those are looking at this picture that's on the screen right now. Hard to believe this is the Nature Boy. Very husky built style of the Nature Boy. Hair helmet type deal. Very thick eyebrows. Thick neck even. Definitely a hoss compared to the Nature Boy we end up eventually getting after the plane crash.
Wow. That is a kind of a different looking Flair. 48 years ago in New York City, Bruno Sammartino defeated Stan Stasiak to win the WWF Championship. This win would make Sammartino the first to win the WWF title more than once.
And held it for multiple years.
46 years ago in Miami, Florida, Terry Funk defeated Jack Briscoe to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship and would join his brother as the only brothers to hold the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Both of them at different times, of course.
Yep.
22 years ago in Osaka, Japan, Genrishio Tenru defeated Kenji Muda to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
And fans over here in North America would recognize Tenru from his time in, I believe, the Royal Rumble, and definitely teaming with Katao against Demolition at WrestleMania 7.
And I'm pretty sure that Bobby the Brain made a joke about the name Katao.
Yes.
All right, moving on to Armageddon, which was 21 years ago from the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center in Birmingham, Alabama. Some of the matches, Chris Jericho defeated Kane in the last man standing match. Edge and Christian defeated the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, Right Censor, Bull Buchanan, and the Goodfather, and Road Dogg and K-Quick in a fatal four-way match to win the WWF Tag Team belts. Chris Benoit would defeat Billy Gunn to win the WWF IC belt, and Kurt Angle defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Undertaker, Rikishi, and The Rock in a six-man Hell in a Cell to retain the WWF Championship. I will say, out of the results, one, I never understand, why do they put guys like Kane in the last man standing match and you have him lose?
Yeah.
That makes no effing sense to the character. If any match he should win, it's those ones. The ones where you have to actually pin the guy, let him lose those all day long.
Yeah, especially with his size and strength and everything. It's kind of odd that way. But then you look at that main event, and we'll bring it back up with the six guys that were in there with the Hell in a Cell. But this was that weird one where, for no apparent reason, a truck full of hay backed up down the aisle and bumped into the cell just conveniently in time for Undertaker to toss Rikishi off the top of the cell and into the pile of hay. And of course, he was basically done for the rest of that match. But had that truck not shown up,
there was no setup to the truck arriving, it just arrived, and
I don't recall there being any rhyme or reason for that.
That might be one to take a more in-depth look at and go, what the? Because, yes, it was cool to see. Great stunt, but why is that truck there?
Exactly.
Well, we know why it's there, but... right. 14 years ago, WWE presented the Raw 15th Anniversary Special. The show was filled with special guests, including Big Dick Johnson, Howard Finkel, Bastion Booger, Pat Patterson, Jared Briscoe, Stephanie McMahon, Sonny, Eric Bischoff, Lita, Trish Stratus, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. The matches, some of the matches that were on the card, Jeff Hardy defeated Carlito in a ladder match to retain the WWE IC belt. Evolution, which of course was Batista, Triple H, and Ric Flair, defeated rated RKO, Orton and Edge, and Umaga by DQ. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase won the 15-man Battle Royal. The other participants was Al Snow, Bart Gunn, Bob Backlund, Doink, Flash Funk, Gangrel, Gilbert, IRS, Jim Neidhart, Pete Gas, Repo Man, Scotty Tuhati, Sergeant Slaughter. Of course, if he's not in there, he has to be in there. Skinner, Steve Blackman, and The Goon.
Quite the eclectic group of people there.
Yeah, no wonder $1 Million Man won that one.
He paid them all off.
Yeah. Is that what happened?
I believe so, because Ted wasn't able to take bumps.
And Cody Rhodes and Hardcore Holly defeated Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch to win the World Tag Team Championship. And as far as a birthday, we got one for December 10th. It's a happy 32nd birthday for Jason Anthony Paul aka JTG, who you got to give it to the guy. He was there for a long time, and he was a pretty hard worker. In fact, I almost want to say he won a battle royal at the JLC when I went there the one time, but I can't remember if he won it or not. But he was in it.
Anything's possible with that. Unfortunately, he lost his tag team partner about a year and a half ago when Shad drowned. But JTG is over on NWA and was just recently teaming with Dirty Dango, formerly Fandango. So if people are fans of JTD, they can catch him over on NWA.
All right. Moving on, December 11th, 24 years ago at a Raw is War taping, Triple H defeated Shawn Michaels to win the WWF European Championship. A year or so before the finger poke of doom in WCW, this match, the WWF did it first. When Michaels laid it down for Helmsley as the members of D-Generation X made a mockery of the match ordered by then WWF Commissioner Sergeant Slaughter.
At least there was a little more action to it than the finger poke of doom, because
and they made it quite funny, if I remember, the ridiculous going back and forth on the ropes. And
yeah, they locked up, and then Hunter pushed Shawn down, and Hunter ran the ropes in very slow motion strides, and then landed on him and got the pin, and cried like it was the best day of his life.
Yeah, and again, you only had the European Championship change hands. Much better than the WCW finger poke of doom.
With the world title.
Yeah. 10 years ago, TNA presented Final Resolution. Jeff Hardy defeated Jeff Jarrett in a steel cage match. With the win, the Jarretts were fired from TNA, and Hardy became the #1 contender to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This would be one of Double J's last pay-per-view matches with the company, as he would move to behind the scenes. And Bobby Roode and AJ Styles went to a 30-minute time limit draw, 3-3 in an Iron Man match for a TNA World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know if you can call it an Iron Man when it's only a half an hour.
Yeah, it's kind of weak. Because even at that point, you can only maybe get one pin, ideally, if they're that.
But they got a total of 6 pins in a half hour, which is like, okay, then why isn't the matches normally that quick? I don't like it when they do these Iron Man matches and they have a ridiculous amount of falls. If you're going to do that, it better be the other half hour of the match.
Yeah, exactly. Like to be put in a Iron Man match for the world title, there has to be a lot of animosity and a lot of things going on where there's no finishes constantly, and that's why they need to go to an Iron Man situation. But then it needs to be a longer thing, an hour. Go that length of time. Then you're now more believable. And as you pointed out, in the latter half of the half hour, or that hour after the first half hour, when they start sucking wind and being spent, then it's more believable that they're losing as opposed to 6 victories in 30 minutes.
Yeah, if it was like Hacksaw Jim Duggan against, say, Greg Valentine, mind you, he can go for a long time. That would be more of an Iron Man match. 7 years ago, NXT presented TakeOver 3 Our Evolution. The show was noted for the debut of Kevin Owens, a.k.a. Kevin Steen. Sami Zayn defeated Adrian Neville to win the NXT Championship. And I do believe at the end he got the shit kicked out of him by Kevin Owens.
Yeah, the pictures that I have selected up here basically tell the story of that battle where Sami Zayn was actually relevant compared to what they're doing right now with his conspiracy theory situation going on and everything in that regards. But Sami Zayn made his way to becoming the NXT champion. Kevin Owens made his debut against Juice Robinson. I think his name was CJ Parker at the time in the opening match. But then after Sami won, everybody was celebrating and There was a big celebration in the middle of the ring, lifted Sammy on their shoulders. Out came Kevin. They celebrated, and as you see in the bottom left-hand side of this picture, they're congratulating, and it's a happy moment for them because they're great friends from the times when they battled and tagged together as Kevin Steen and El Generico. And as they start walking up the rampway, Kevin Owens then clotheslines Sami Zayn, then picks up Zayn and power bombs him on the side of the ring apron, and that started their blood feud where a lot of people were happy that Kevin Owens was there, and he went from being a face to a heel in no time flat, which is awesome. And I think this is one of the first times that they ended up doing something special where they thought the fans were sending the fans away and going, okay, have a great night. They put up the little copyright at the bottom. They did it with DIY matches as well when Ciampa and Gargano ended up turning on each other. But this one, they did it too as well, where they have them celebrating and great friends. Here's your logo. We're going to fade to black in a moment. And instead of fading to black, you got the attack. Then you faded to black, which sent people going, what the hell? And that's a great way of doing storytelling, which is so rare, especially on the main roster. But this came from the old black and gold.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we had one birthday for December 11th. It's a happy 47th birthday for Oscar Gutierrez, a.k.a. Rey Mysterio Jr. And, wow, 47. Still kind of young. Yeah, not for a wrestler, but still kind of young. And good to see that he's still, he's still in there.
And probably if you take off that mask, like we see on the left-hand side when he was in WCW and took off the mask, he probably just looks like a chunky 12-year-old.
A chunky kid.
Compared to the thin 12-year-old on the left-hand side.
Moving on, December 12th. 32 years ago, WWF taped No Holds Barred, The Match, the movie, from the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. The No Holds Barred match, a tag team steel cage match between the duo of Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and the tandem of Macho Man Randy Savage and Zeus, which was portrayed by actor Tiny Lister, was the featured bout of Wrestling Challenge taping. The main match would become a pay-per-view, and the movie would air December 27th along with it. This would also be the final appearance on WWF TV for Zeus. And it was also on one of their Coliseum videos. I believe it was the end match of, can't remember, but I know it was on. I think it was on another one of their videos.
Yeah, probably one of their WrestleFest type compilation videos or something like that. Yeah, and you had Sherry peering into the cauldron of the madness.
Yep. It's not a great technical match, but it is a good, fun match to watch, especially for that time. You didn't get a lot of cage matches, and when you did, they were pretty epic.
And it was the old blue cage. And then, of course, people were treated to watching No Holds Barred, the movie, which I saw in the movie theater. And, yeah, that doesn't...
I think you're one of 7 people that's seen it in the movie theater.
Probably. But it doesn't age well, some of the things that are in that. And, the overacting of Hogan when he jumped out of the limo that gets stolen and kidnapped in. And there's something to wrestle with where they actually watch it, Bruce and what's Conrad do, and they're talking about it throughout that, and he's just like, did you get that idea for Rey Mysterio's entry from this? And then you got Stan Hansen with going in the bathroom and approaching Burrell and going, tiny wangers. And the guy that Hogan ends up getting after he breaks out of the limo and going, they shits themselves, and he's like, "What's that smell? Dookie. Just
Wow.
really, really cheesy 80s movie storytelling, and worth the watch, I guess. But as I said, it doesn't age well.
A lot of them don't, unfortunately. 22 years ago, WWF presented Armageddon 2009. The Acolytes, Bradshaw and Farouk, won a tag team battle royal. Miss Kitty wins the WWF Women's Championship in an evening gown match and quickly flashes her puppies until Sergeant Slaughter covers her up. But half the nation already, including me, was already a tent hut. You slime. Val Venus defeated the British Bulldog and D'Lo Brown in a triple threat match to win the WWF European Championship. Kane defeated X-Pac in a steel cage match. Chris Jericho defeated Chyna to win the WWF IC belt. And Triple H defeated Vince McMahon in a street fight.
Yeah, but it kind of was an odd thing because they had them going against each other. And then Stephanie stopped Vince from using the sledgehammer on Triple H, but then used it on her dad. And then, Triple H was going to use it on Vince, but then she stopped him but used it on her dad type deal. But then they revealed that they're together. And this is after a Stephanie McMahon date rape, roofied, and gone through the drive-through wedding chapel. All of a sudden, she's on board with this whole thing.
I think she was in on it. That's what I think.
Yeah, and just to really embarrass Test.
Yeah, and any match that Triple H brings out that friggin' sledgehammer, I just hate it. I hate it. I'm sorry. In wrestling, chairs fine, but there should be no sledgehammers, anything like that, because we know in reality, one hit with that and you're fucking dead.
Well, if you ever noticed, he used it more like a roll of quarters and a
but
brass knuckles to a certain extent, because he'd always cup it, the sledge part, and then hit whoever it was. Whenever he swung it without covering the hammer part, you knew he always missed. There was a very rare time that he connected on an actual swing without it protected. So, like I said, he used it more as a brass knucks, roll of quarters type.
Oh yeah, but I still hate it, because then it's like, well, then use brass knucks, use a roll of quarters. The sledgehammer, it's just an absolute dumb gimmick, in my opinion, because you're bringing fans already know that wrestling is, on the take, or whatever you want to call it. When you bring real things in, like sledgehammers, obviously, since you can't actually use it for realsies, you cover it up and it just looks dumb. It looks awkward. It's stupid. I never understood it. I hate it. Anyways, moving on. 17 years ago, WWE presents Armageddon 2004. Kurt Angle defeated Santa Claus. So we know this is a great pay-per-view. Daniel Puder defeated Mike Mizanin. How do you say that back then? Mizanin? Mizanin. Via judge's decision to win the $1 Million Tough Enough competition. John Cena defeated Jesus in a street fight, or is it Jesus? Jesus in a street fight to retain the WWE United States Championship.
Yeah, he didn't last long with the company.
Yeah, Jesus, I never even heard the guy. I'm like...
He hung out with Carlito.
Oh, okay. And JBL defeated Eddie Guerrero, The Undertaker, and Booker T in a fatal four-way match to retain the WWE Championship. A few birthdays. It's a happy 40th birthday for Edward Moore, best known to wrestling fans as Eddie Kingston. It's a happy 55th birthday for Yoshiro Asai, best known to wrestling fans as the Ultimo Dragon, or Ultimo Dragon, depending on who says it. He was best known for his time in WCW. For us, North American audience, he once had the gimmick of being the last student trained by legendary martial artist Bruce Lee, thus the name Ultimo Dragon, translating to the Last Dragon. He is one of the most successful junior heavyweights ever. He once held 10 belts at one time, and that was for about 1 week. Dragon is credited with popularizing the Asai moonsault, a springboard moonsault from the apron on the ring to an opponent on the outside. Dragon also competed for the top 3 federations in Mexico, the Universal Wrestling Association, AAA, and CMLL. In Japan, he wrestled for the Wrestling Federation, the Universal Wrestling Federation, Wrestle and Romance, War, also it was known as, and briefly for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Dragon also briefly competed for WWE in parts of 2003 and 2004, and I think he made another appearance, a few years ago?
I'm not fully sure on that one. I do know that I saw Ultimo Dragon at a Smash Wrestling event a couple of years ago in Toronto. He was part of the tournament that they were holding, and obviously doing autographs and pictures. Chris Maloney ended up getting his picture taken with him, and I took one from the floor. I got Trevor got a signed book by him, and got that to him. The weird part of the whole thing is with him being 55. So at that time, he would have been, I guess, 53. When we saw him, he walks so slow to the ring, and I was just like, oh my God, this is not going to be good. And I felt really bad for him because here's this older wrestler now doing the indie scenes like this, and God only knows what he was charging to be there for the 2 days and to get him there. But I was kind of hesitant on what his matches were going to end up being like. But as soon as that bell rings, it's almost like Festus, where he went from slow to, oh my God. And yeah, he put on amazing matches both days. And then he went back. As soon as the bell rang, he was back to
Well,
slow.
maybe it's kind of like if you've seen Tony Bennett of late.
No.
Tony Bennett, he suffers from like Alzheimer's or one of them, but he doesn't remember much at all. He seems, a little slow and all that, but it's amazing. He still does concerts. As soon as they give him that microphone, a flick switch is in him, and you wouldn't even know the guy doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's amazing how people can do that.
And maybe Ultimo Dragon just does that to screw with the fan.
Could be.
Hey, it's a happy 57th birthday for Terry Michael Brunnick, or Brunnick. Brunk. There you go. See, that's why Sean's here. Best known to wrestling fans as Sabu. And it's a happy 70th birthday for a ring announcer who spent time with both the WWF and WCW, Gary Michael Capetta, one of my favorite ring announcers. Between him saying Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's name and Sting at the high pitch he did, just wonderful. And it would have been the 87th birthday for, God, I'm not even going to try that one. Jose Lothario. His real name is just, wow. Competing primarily for the National Wrestling Alliance, Florida and Houston territories, Lothario is most famously known to younger fans as the trainer of WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels. He managed Michaels in '96 during Shawn's run as WWF champion. Jose's wife, Jean, wrestled for the Southwest Wrestling Alliance, and the couple have 2 children, Pete, who is a wrestler in Texas, and Gina. And one more birthday, it would have been the 98th birthday for Robert William Barker, a.k.a. Bob Barker.
It still was. Bob is still with us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he is.
Bob is still with us.
All right. I'm sorry.
That's
Bob.
okay. But 98 years old, he's up there with Dick Van Dyke and Betty White as people who are looking old, especially with the fact that their hair has gone gray and their skin has gone the way they have. But you can tell who they are still, and they still are active and, I guess, spiritually ageless.
Yeah.
To that extent.
Mind you, Betty White right now has pretty much left the limelight. She's living with a bear.
Yeah, I saw that video just recently, and Dick Van Dyke just had his birthday as well, and he has like a 40-year-old wife or something like that. But hey, congrats to all of them being around this long, especially Bob, who has a WWE connection.
Absolutely. December 13th, 34 years ago, AWA, in association with World Class Wrestling Association, Powerful Women of Wrestling and Championship Wrestling Association, presented Super Clash 3 from Chicago, Illinois. The lone AWA pay-per-view was a financial failure with just a little over 1,600 fans in attendance and only about 40,000 homes watching on pay-per-view. The financial disaster resulted in many of the participants on the show not seeing a dime of the revenue, basically killing AWA founder Vern Gagne's working relationship with the other promotions.
Yeah, that hasn't happened yet with Tony Khan, but Tony Khan has more money than Vern Gagne. But yeah, seeing Super Clash 3 almost looked like how I think it was Slammiversary or Bound for Glory for Impact Wrestling recently, were making it seem as though it was going to be a super card involving all the different organizations. Unfortunately, that fell short. I don't know who's to blame on that one, but it would be great to see, since this whole Forbidden Door thing exists minus WWE, if a super card like Super Clash 3 could be put together. And the problem is, I heard it as far as even trying to do an Ontario version of it, there's unfortunately too many egos potentially in the way, where how do you determine who's main eventing, who's going over,
whoever gets the biggest sponsorship for their match, that's who wins.
Exactly.
That's how I put it. If you can raise more money, you win.
You get the main event. Yeah, so it's unfortunate that those dream cards will only be dream cards to a certain extent. Like even with the Forbidden Door with AEW having others in, what were some of the bigger matches? We didn't get huge matches out of it. We were just like, oh, wow, that guy's here from Japan, or that guy's here from Impact. But it didn't really shake the needle on anything of bringing in interest for it spreading around all the organizations.
See, I put egos aside. I think indie promotions should be able to do it because it would be a win-win for all of them.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Yeah, go ahead.
All right. 32 years ago, WCW presented Starrcade 89 Future Shock, one of their better named pay-per-views. The hook of the show was a pair of one-night round-robin tournaments featuring the top 4 single wrestlers and top 4 tag teams in WCW. A point system would be used to determine a winner. The Road Warriors defeated the New Wild Samoans, winning the Iron Man tag team tournament with 40 points. The Steiners were second with 35, followed by the New Wild Samoans with 30, and Doom got nothing. In the main event, Sting defeated Ric Flair, winning the Iron Man tournament with 40 points. Luger finished second with 35, followed by Flair, and the Great Muta got nothing.
Yeah, it's hard to see those names like Muta and Doom getting absolutely nothing. It was like they were the jobbers of the stars.
Yeah, I'm sure they felt great about that. I bet you Muda probably didn't give a shit, but I'm sorry, if I was Doom, I'd be like, really?
Yeah.
The new Wild Samoans get 30 points and we get nothing? What the? 32 years ago in Huntsville, Alabama, the Colossal Connection, Andre the Giant and Haku, defeated Demolition, X and Smash to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. It was a nice thing for them to do, letting Andre finally have an actual belt in the WWF and kind of sending him out with a little more attention on him and his tag team adventure.
Yeah, and he got a great moment in front of the Toronto crowd at Skydome when he got to turn face and after dropping the titles and go out on the cart and wave to the fans.
To this day, I don't know why Toronto doesn't have a big freaking statue of Andre out there. 28 years ago today, Alundra Blaze defeated Heidi Lee Morgan in the finals of the tournament to win the vacated WWF Women's Championship. And hey, that was 28 years ago. 26 years ago today, the WWF Women's Championship is deactivated. The title's deactivation came when its champion, Alundra Blaze, in the entire women's division was let go by the WWF due to cost-cutting measures. And 5 days later, the belt would be trashed in WCW by Medusa, a.k.a. Alundra Blaze.
Thanks to Eric Bischoff giving her a call, and she said that she still had the belt, and he asked her to bring it there. But she got basically blackballed after that whole thing, at least by everybody outside of WCW. And the promise of WCW giving the women a platform didn't really go far because they didn't do too much. They even created a title, which I don't even think they used. And then when she got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, she actually brought a garbage can and pulled it out, just tongue-in-cheek, the whole thing.
Well, yeah, you know what? It's it happened, and it was a good thing it happened because it stirred things up. But honestly, when it happened to me, it didn't seem to be that big of a deal because, sorry, it's the women's belt. No offense to the women, but it was the women's belt.
True.
16 years ago at a SmackDown taping, Batista and Rey Mysterio defeated Eminem, Joey Mercury, and Johnny Nitro to win the WWE Tag Team Championship and would air on the 16th of December. 13 years ago at a house show in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, John Morrison and The Miz defeated CM Punk and Kofi Kingston to win the World Tag Team Championship.
Awesome.
Yeah. 12 years ago, WWE presented the first TLC at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, replacing Armageddon. Some of the matches, Drew McIntyre defeated John Morrison to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Sheamus defeated John Cena in a tables match to win the WWE Championship. And D-Generation X, Michaels and Triple H defeated Jerry Show, Jericho, and the Big Slow in a tables, ladders, and chairs match to win the WWE Unified Tag Team Championship.
Yeah, now TLC is not happening this year. It was actually supposed to happen, I think, this upcoming weekend, originally scheduled to do, but then, or no, it was supposed to be last weekend, I believe, on the 12th. But yeah, because of Nick Khan, the other Khan in wrestling, wanting to bring in something new for WWE fans and created Day One and trying to make that as a regular pay-per-view on January 1st. TLC is gone by the wayside, which I'm okay with to the extent where I prefer pay-per-views with titles on them as opposed to gimmicks named after them. But after what we saw this past Monday with the WWE Championship match becoming a fatal four-way, some toys were brought out, including chairs and tables. Won't be surprised if by day one we're seeing that turn into a TLC match just to make up for the fact that we don't have the TLC pay-per-view.
Yeah. And I think that was the event that I loved their set for that event.
Oh, was it the dangling tables and chairs?
Oh yeah, all the dangling chairs and it just looked really surreal. I really like the entrances that they have done over the years. 6 years ago at TLC, we had Dean Ambrose defeat Kevin Owens to win the WWE IC belt. And today would have been the 38th birthday of Northern England wrestler Christopher Darren Travis, or simply Chris Travis. Yeah. And it would have been the 69th birthday of Sylvester Ritter, best known to wrestling fans as the Junkyard Dog, JYD. A little bit about him. Born in Wadesboro, North Carolina, an All-American with Fayetteville State University, he began his wrestling career. Ritter made his WWF debut in August of 1984. His interaction with young fans made him an instant hit. JYD feuded notably with Harley Race, the Funk Brothers, Adrian Adonis, Greg Valentine, and the Outlaw Ron Bass. Though he never won a championship, he did win the Wrestling Classic Tournament in '85. Ritter left the WWF in October of '88. 2 months later, he would debut for the NWA at Clash of the Champions 4, saving Ivan Koloff from an assault from the Russian assassins. Success came quickly for Ritter. He won a $50,000 bunkhouse battle royal at Starrcade '88. In February '91, JYD would win his first championship, the short-lived WCW six-man tag team titles, winning them with Ricky Morton and Tommy Rich over Dr. Z, Dutch Mantel, and Buddy Landel. He would leave WCW for good in July of '93 and largely retired. On June 2nd, 1998, as Ritter returned from his daughter Latoya's high school graduation in Wadesboro, North Carolina, he fell asleep at the wheel and suffered what would be a fatal single-car accident in Forest, Mississippi. He was only 45.
Yeah, I didn't really get to see too much of JYD with his time in WWE. Since I started watching in September of '86. But if you listen to a lot of either Grill and JR or Something to Wrestle, they talk about how JYD's career was actually really huge, working for Bill Watts in UWF. And it was only after Vince offered him money that he jumped and left Watts high and dry in '84 to join WWE. Of course, he got to be part of the Rock and Wrestling cartoon, one of the first ones on the line of the toys that were created by LJN. So jumping from the UWF to WWF probably wasn't a bad thing in the long run. And he didn't get blackballed too bad, because WCW was willing to pick him up, or NWA was, after he left in October of '88. So it kind of worked out for him, but drugs and alcohol were unfortunately a bad demon for him, and which was one of the reasons why he ended up crashing his car and costing his life.
Yep. Rest in peace there, JYD. Moving on to December 14th, 35 years ago, WWF tapes the 9th edition of Saturday Night's Main Event. The show aired on January 3rd, 1987, and served as the final match in a long rivalry between Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff. Hulk Hogan defeated Paul Orndorff in a steel cage match to retain the WWF Championship. The match was restarted when both men hit the floor at the same time when they escaped the cage. Other matches on the show, Adrian Adonis defeated Rowdy Piper by countout, and Blackjack Mulligan defeated Jimmy Jack Funk.
Quite the stack card there.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Jack Funk always looked unwashed to me.
Yeah.
29 years ago in Tokyo, Japan, the Hellraisers, Road Warrior Hawk and Power Warrior, being Kensuke Sasaki, defeated Scott Norton and Tony Helm, Ludwig Borga, to win the IWGP Tag Team Championship. 23 years ago on Raw is War, the Big Boss Man and Ken Shamrock defeated the New Age Outlaws to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. 18 years ago, WWE presented Armageddon from the TD Waterhouse Center. Randy Orton defeated Rob Van Dam to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Mick Foley was the special referee for that one. Evolution, Ric Flair and Batista defeated the Dudley Boys in a tag team turmoil match to win the World Tag Team Championship. And Triple H defeated Goldberg and Kane in a triple threat match to win the World Heavyweight Championship.
Interesting card.
13 years ago, WWE presented another Armageddon. CM Punk defeated Rey Mysterio to become the #1 contender for the WWE IC belt. And Jeff Hardy defeated Edge and Triple H in a triple threat match to win the WWE belt.
Yeah, you rarely see those #1 contender matches anymore. WWE's kind of scrapped them and having what I kind of don't like with these contender matches or whatever, where the potential #1 contender is going against the champion, and if you get a victory over the champion, then you get an opportunity to go after the champion. It's like, no, that's no.
I kind of understand that, but I understand that if it's a newer guy or if it's a guy that hasn't proven himself yet. But if they've already won a championship at some point, they shouldn't have to qualify. Like,
well, I don't like the idea of you have to beat the champ to get a shot at beating the champ again. I don't mind this idea like they had with CM Punk and Rey Mysterio battling to become the #1 contender for a title, because that says that these two guys.
Yeah, that I agree with. But basically, the match you're describing isn't that basically the title isn't on the line match?
Yeah, it's a non-title match to get a title match.
Yeah, and that's what it really should be. It's just a non-title match. And if they do, in fact, win, then they go, whoa, does this mean he's actually going to have to put up his belt against this guy?
Yeah, but they just label it as a contendership match. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Go figure. It's the current WWE status.
But is the wrestling still good? That's my question.
Between the belts,
the wrestling and the ring is still good.
Exactly. That's why house shows are better than watching on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. December 15th, 58 years ago, Rican Dozen dies from complications from a stab wound he suffered in a Tokyo nightclub. He was just 38. Ricky Dozen is often credited as being one of the primary influences of professional wrestling gaining prominence in the land of the rising sun. He is a member of the 2017 WWE Hall of Fame Legacy Wing.
Congratulations, Ricky.
34 years ago, the WWF presented the second Slammy Awards from Caesars in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The show is best remembered for Vince McMahon's dance number of Stand Back. The video would first resurface more than a decade later on the May 28th, 2001 Raw is War episode, but most notably in 2006 during the D-Generation X McMahon feud in 2006. There was Dancing Girls, Hogan on the guitar, and many superstars on horns, and George the Animal Steele on tambourine. It is absolutely fantastic, even though it's bad, but it's also fantastic.
It's 80s cheese, definitely. Oh, yeah. And as you see Hogan with his bass guitar and Savage Beefcake and Jake on trumpet, the Killer Bees and JYD on saxophones. But Vince does a really good job with that song, which was made for Andre the Giant, and the video had Andre in it, but I don't believe Andre used it as a actual theme to go to the ring with. And you did mention it was the second Slammy Awards, because the first one had Jimmy Hart singing Eat Your Heart, Rick Springfield and stuff like that, and Duggan and Race going through the screen. But technically, it was the 37th annual Slammy Awards.
Really?
That's what they put it up on the screen. And
well, hey, who's going to, except for the hardcore wrestling fan, who is going to know?
Exactly. But yeah, it was a decent songs that they did, and that was part of the Pile Driver album. And the year before was from the wrestling album One. But yeah, worth the look.
Now the song "Stand Back," I'm not sure who originally done it. I know the Fabulous Thunderbirds did it and made it popular.
Yeah, probably Thunderbirds did it, and then Vince recorded it for Pile Driver.
25 years ago, WWF presented In Your House 12, It's Time. In a free-for-all pre-show match, Rocky Maivia defeated Salvatore Sincero by DQ. Owen Hart and the British Bulldogs defeated Fake Diesel and Fake Razor Ramon to retain the WWF World Tag Team Championship. Of course, one of those being Kane, and the other guy, who did he become?
He was Rick Bogner. He's unfortunately passed away, but he really was. I think he was from Canada, out west, suggested by Bret Hart to come in, not necessarily to be Fake Diesel, Fake Razor, but that also had Sid against Bret in the main event.
All right. 24 years ago on Nitro, Bret Hart would make his WCW debut as the announced special referee for Larry Zbyszko versus Eric Bischoff at Starrcade. What a shitty friggin' welcome to WCW.
Yeah, as I've said numerous times on a bunch of different podcasts that you have, regardless of what you think WWE did as screwing Bret over, he had a written in on a silver platter storyline for Bischoff to use upon arrival, and he didn't do it. Like, even if Bret didn't know what was going on and Vince screwed him over like people want to say happened, Vince and Bret talked about it, that WCW wouldn't know what to do with a Bret Hart. Vince came up with what to do with a Bret Hart, and still they failed.
Bless WCW for screwing up. Over on Raw's War, the Attitude Era begins after Vince McMahon announces a change in creative direction, with McMahon giving the dubbed "The Cure for the Common Show" speech. This episode of Raw was also the first introduction of the company's scratch logo. The scratch logo was briefly used with WWE's New Generation slanted logo for a few months before transitioning fully to the scratch logo at WrestleMania 14.
Yeah, and speaking of the Monday Night Wars, I believe in our revamp of our format, we're going to look at one of those weeks during the Monday Night War to compare WCW's show to WWE WWF show. So we'll see which week comes up on each episode, and we'll take a look at that. So something to look forward to, along with, as I said, deeper dives into careers and pay-per-views.
Yes. 21 years ago, ECW presented what would be the last taping of Hardcore TV. The Dudley Boys and Taz, all contracted to the WWF at the time, returned to the promotion for a one-off appearance. Also in the crowd for the show was Smashing Pumpkins frontman and future wrestling promoter Billy Corgan. 19 years ago, WWE presented Armageddon 2002. Booker T and Goldust in a fatal four-way elimination match won the World Tag Team Championship. Kurt Angle defeated the Big Slow to win the WWE Championship. And Triple H defeated Shawn Michaels 2-1 in a 3 Stages of Hell match to win the World Heavyweight Championship.
I don't mind 3 Stages of Hell matches. At least they up the ante each fall, but now it's also almost a guarantee that you're going to go all 3 just to get to that most anticipated violent match.
See, that's one where I'd actually like to see them do it, where they lose 2 matches in a row and you think it's over, then something happens and Buddy goes, you want to still do the 3rd match? I'll still put up my belt or whatever. And then, anyways.
Yep.
Change it up for fuck's sakes. 8 years ago, WWE presented tables, ladders, and chairs. The show's main hook was a unification match for the WWE and World Heavyweight Championships. CM Punk defeated The Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose in a 3-on-1 handicap match. The Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, and Luke Harper defeated Daniel Bryan in a 3-on-1 handicap match. And Randy Orton defeated John Cena in a TLC match to unify the WWE and World Heavyweight Championship. And on to our last day, December 16th. 31 years ago, NWA and WCW presented Starrcade 90 Collision Course. The show's focus was the Pat O'Connor Memorial International Cup Tag Team Tournament, the wrestling legend who died earlier in the year of cancer. Team USA, Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner, defeated Team Japan, Mr. Sato and the Great Muta to win the tag tournament. Lex Luger defeated Stan Hansen in a bull rope match to win the NWA US Heavyweight Championship. And Sting defeated the Black Scorpion in a steel cage match to retain the NWA World Heavyweight belt. Dick the Bruiser was the special referee for that match. In post-match, the Black Scorpion, rumored at various points to be the Ultimate Warrior, or Dave Angel of Death Sheldon, and El Perez was just Ric Flair.
Yeah, I think El Perez did go under the hood a few times before they revealed it, but then it was, here's your big reveal, Rick.
Yay. 14 years ago, WWE presented yet another Armageddon, and that would be 2003, I believe. Shawn Michaels defeated Mr. Kennedy. Jeff Hardy defeated Triple H to earn a WWE Championship match at the 2008 Royal Rumble event. And Edge defeated Batista and The Undertaker in a triple threat match to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Wow, that's a much younger looking Edge on the screen there.
Oh, compared to what he looks like now, his eyes are just so sunken, and his face is not as full as it is here.
No, he looks like his age now. But hey, he's still in great shape, so good for him. 12 years ago at a TNA Impact taping, Lethal Consequences, Jay Lethal and Consequences Creed, defeated Beer Money Inc., James Storm and Robert Roode to win the TNA World Tag Team Championship. 9 years ago, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle Doomsday from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. The show featured the final in-ring appearance of El Generico. Matt Hardy defeated Adam Cole. The Briscoe brothers defeated Scum, being Jimmy Jacobs and Steve Corino, and Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander in a 3-way tag team match to win the ROH World Tag Belt. And Kevin Steen defeated Sami Zayn, El Generico, in a ladder war 4 to retain the ROH World Championship.
Yeah, and just this past weekend, Ring of Honor had their final battle, which might be their final battle unless they do come back in April. But looks like with everything going on with financials and Sinclair company that owns them, Ring of Honor might be just Ring of Honor in name and be a ultimate indie show more so than anything else, unless they are able to pull up the nose in April and restart. But
well, what they could do is sell their library to WWE and get some money, and there you go. You're probably good.
True.
I'm surprised WWE isn't doing more of that, where some of these struggling ones get their library, give them some money, and they can continue to make content for you.
There had been thoughts of that, but it didn't sound like it happened. And then also people were wondering if Tony Khan was going to end up buying either Ring of Honor outright or their library and have his own on-demand system, just like how WWE does, and so does Impact, because then you can put the last 2 years of AEW up with all their dark episodes and new rampages and stuff like that. Plus, then if you had something like a Ring of Honor there's at least some sort of content for people to look at. I don't think it would be to a point yet of streaming 24/7 like the WWE Network does, but it would be something to start with.
Indeed.
And AEW did send a bunch of people to the final battle to at least honor Ring of Honor for their time that they've been there, including guys like Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk.
9 years ago, WWE presented TLC. The Shield, of course, being Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns, defeated Team Hell No, Kane and Daniel Bryan, and Ryback in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Alberto Del Rio, the Brooklyn Brawler, and The Miz defeated CMB, Drew McIntyre, Heath Slater, and Jinder Mahal. Dolph Ziggler defeated John Cena in a World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank ladder match. And why isn't the Brooklyn Brawler in the Hall of Fame yet?
I think he had a falling out with Vince after 20 plus years of working on.
They need a jobber wing.
Well,
7 years ago,
just a jobber.
Sorry?
He was more than just a jobber. He did a lot.
Absolutely, but he was like a super jobber.
Yeah, he had a lot of also backstage agents work with helping with promos, along with obviously being Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, Kim Chi, and Brooklyn Brawler.
I'm sure he'll get in there eventually.
And a Doink.
In the Legendaries wing or the Forgotten wing or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
See, they also need one where it's the ones you didn't think would ever get in, but they get in the bad part of the wing, 7 years ago, WWE presented Super SmackDown Live from the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The show was a milestone one as it was the 800th episode of the series. And that is it for this week and this whole year of going through all of the things that have happened in professional wrestling. I've enjoyed doing it. And the whole reason why I started it is to get enough content to do trivia questions. So now I have a year's worth of, well, not a year's worth, but you know what I mean? Got a shitload of content.
We'll eventually get back to doing that game show idea. We'll have to see about getting some sponsors so we can have some prizes going out and advertising in that regards. But yeah, it'd be awesome to get going back to the game show idea. And I will not be playing because it seems like a little bit of a handicap there, unless I was given a handicap. Plus, well, I have a year's worth of all the notes and knowledge anyways. But yeah, hopefully do that. I thank you for actually doing this with us together for the past year. And as I said at the beginning and earlier, we're going to deep dive into a couple of things and look at how some of these pay-per-views set up. Like what happened 9 years ago at TLC to have the Shield go against Ryback and Team Hell No. What happened on Raw to lead up to it? What happened after that? Did the Team Hell No drop the titles to the Shield at all? Which I think they did. But, so we'll look at some of the fallouts and what led up to some of these events, what actually happened during the event. And we'll see if they were good or bad. I think next week we're going to be looking at a good and bad pay-per-view. So we got 2 on the tap for that. And, of course, superstars profiles and a little more deep dives than to celebrate the stars. And we'll see what else pops up along with the Monday Night Wars.
And of course, This Week in Wrestling History has been compiled from the vast land of Google, Wikipedia, CageSideSeats.com, and most importantly, from fans and journalists that had front row seats to history. And a big thank you always to our sponsor, Coolbet. Coolbet.com and sports book betting and casino games. Go check it out if you haven't yet. And stay cool and bet responsibly. And always, thanks to our Johners listeners out there.
Yeah, everybody over on the UK side of things, US, Canada, or all over the world. So reach out to us if there's something we missed, something that sparks your memory as well. Share it. We'll share it on the show as well. We do this because we enjoy wrestling, and the history is a lot more fun to look back on, to either learn from or just reminisce and think the good old days compared to what we're seeing today. But thank you once again, and we will see you next week with our revamped version of This Week in History.